This little video is going to look at the Potsdam Conference of July 1945. So a bit of background then. The Potsdam Agreement was made in Potsdam just outside Berlin in July 1945 and was hugely different to Yalta in February because the relationships had already started to become tense. And you can see by the photograph that things had already changed since Yalta way back in February. So there was a number of leadership changes. By Potsdam, Roosevelt had died and had been replaced by Harry Truman. Churchill had been voted out and was replaced by Attlee in the United Kingdom, and only Stalin, the Russian dictator, remained. Truman was more suspicious of Stalin than Roosevelt had been, and Stalin believed that the other two were new, inexperienced, and weak. So Hitler was also dead by this stage, and Germany was defeated. The glue of that common enemy was now gone between East and West. Also, there was Soviet control. So the USSR now occupied Eastern Europe with its huge Red Army, the biggest in the world. So it had 300 miles more territory since Yalta way back in February. And the US and UK had been shocked by just how brutal that control was. Germany had been stripped of resources by the Soviet Union. Many women were treated terribly. There were puppet regimes controlled by Moscow where they installed their own dictators in Eastern European countries. Elections were rigged in favour of the communists as well. And then you have the atomic bomb. So by Potsdam, Truman actually knew that the atomic bomb, the secret atomic bomb, actually worked. This had been a top secret US project to develop nuclear weapons. Stalin, however, did know what was happening and was beginning his own program. Truman felt that the bombs gave America that edge that they needed to help to shape attitudes towards Stalin and towards the post-war world. So what was actually agreed? Well, Germany was to be demilitarized and must pay reparations according to Potsdam. However, differences were emerging on this, especially with reparations. Polish borders were agreed, so German land was given to the USSR, and yeah, the borders of Poland were actually redesigned at this point. Then you've got Japan. So the USSR said they would begin to get involved in the fight against Japan, but there was also lots of disagreement. This is very clear at Potsdam that the alliance was crumbling, was falling apart, and tensions were clearly emerging, especially over the atomic bomb secrets, reparations, and the treatment of Germany, the treatment of Eastern Europe. So there were growing tensions. Stalin was angry. He was suspicious about Western intentions, especially after the atomic bomb secret. He felt the bomb had been developed in order to intimidate the USSR. The dropping of two bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki in August 1945 seemed to the Soviet Union as an attempt to show their power rather than to win the war quickly. He also felt his desire for security was reasonable because there had been a huge Soviet death toll during the war. 25 million people lay dead. And this was huge in comparison to the West's death toll. Stalin was determined to get his buffer zone. There was also growing tensions in the United States. Truman feared the spread of communism. He feared that Stalin may replace Hitler as a new threat. He was angry at how the Soviets controlled Eastern Europe, and he and Churchill worried about letting down Eastern Europe by abandoning them. What to Stalin was a buffer zone looked to Truman like the start of a Soviet empire. Many thanks for watching.